Forget what you think you know. Forget every story you've heard about the Eternals, their calm stewardship of time, their patient guardianship over reality itself. Because behind the gears, behind the smooth surface of eternity, lies a secret, a fracture, a clock that ticked wrong, a mind that dared to wind fate itself. This is the story of the Clockmaker, of a ledger, of lives stitched together by hands that should not have touched the threads of history. It is the story of a woman named Mara Elric and a choice that would echo far beyond her understanding. The story begins in silence. A basement archive, dim light, dust motes drifting like slow stars in a motionless sky. Mara moves through the quiet the way a musician moves through notes. She knows sound, she knows absence, she knows the weight of waiting. Between the skeleton of a clock that had last ticked decades before her birth, between journals whose paper cracks like brittle skin, she found it, a book bound in oilcloth, sealed with a key that should not exist. The leather smelled of rain, rust, and old storms. On its cover, a single emblem, a gear nested inside an hourglass. The key turned, the pages opened, and the ledger breathed. It was no ordinary book. It rearranged itself, revealing maps of time and diagrams of cogs that defied physics, a calendar that belonged to no known era. It spoke in marginalia, in whispers between the lines, of a man who could wind not springs, but history itself. The Clockmaker, savior, tyrant, madman, visionary. He had been entrusted by the Eternals with the Eternum core, the mechanism that kept their vigilant, patient stewardship from unraveling. But where they saw order, he saw opportunity. Where they saw patience, he saw patterns to manipulate, threads to twist. He tested small adjustments at first, a child nudged from a cliff, a messenger's step delayed, a coin left on a path. Each minor act created a seam. Each seam whispered of potential, a fracture. The ledger's final entry was a warning, a pulse in the blood of the book itself. The final gear turns when the children awaken. Mara read through the night. She left the archive at dawn, the book pressed to her chest like a heartbeat she had never known she carried. The city moved around her, unaware. Trams hissed, vendors shouted, laughter spilled like loose change. Yet everything had shifted. A tram clock blinked 1307, then corrected itself to 107. A name she had read whispered from the mouth of a stranger. Reality, she realized, had started to breathe differently. She was not alone. Lila Varn found her. Spectral, half machine, half memory, a guardian born of a repair that had failed. The ledger pulsed, calling out to those with the Clockmaker in their blood, those who carried fragments of the core encoded into marrow, breath, and pulse. Mara was one of them. The children. The hidden signatures of the Clockmaker's design scattered across the world. One in sound, one in smell, one in memory. Each a spark capable of remolding seams, or unraveling everything. The ledger traced them, an aging puppeteer in Marseille, a Nigerian engineer whose creations defied tolerance, a nurse in Kyoto whose memory could hold dreams before they were spoken. Each thread, each child, was a key to a larger mechanism. But Vireon was already awake. A rogue Eternal, presumed dead after the collapse of the Eternum core, he had survived in the seams, feeding on anomalies, twisting them into a rival axis of reality. If he could collect the signatures, he could anchor a new timeline, one where mankind bowed to eternal dominion. Mara followed the ledger across continents, through the shifting light of dawn and the hollow dark of night. In Marseille, Jean's puppets performed the same motions endlessly, their strings taut, their laughter frayed into repetition. Vireon's presence hummed in the corners, a child who aged backward, a streetlight that blinked in Morse, ozone thickening the air like static before a storm. Mara began to repair the seams, not with force but memory. She fed Jean sunsets he had forgotten, moments of tenderness lost in repetition. The puppets shifted, hesitated, then bowed in a gesture of recognition. The ledger clicked softly, approving. But for each repair, two more frayed elsewhere. In Lagos, a bridge looped commuters into repeated near disasters. In Kyoto, prophetic dreams spread like fever through hospital corridors. The world was a clock under impossible strain, and every repair threatened to break it. Vireon struck with subtlety, not strength. He offered the children illusions of what they had lost: a parent returned, a death reversed, grief erased. Each bargain was personal, intimate, seductive. A son could live again, a dream restored, a heartbreak undone. Mara almost succumbed, recalling the clockmaker's own obsession: a daughter lost to fever, a life recalled again and again until it was no longer her own. Each stitch for a life stolen from chaos. She remembered Lila, the children, the weight of choices that weren't hers alone. She refused. Vireon grew furious. Time itself quickened. Clocks thundered toward midnight. Cities twisted, street lines misremembered, monuments hummed ancient songs, history bleeding forward and backward at once. An hour emerged where realities overlapped, dense, dangerous, impossible. The observatory, a ruin once housing the core, became the arena. Its patched dome smelled of lubricant and rain. Lila moved like a midwife, aligning breaths, coaxing memories, readying the children. Their bodies glowed faintly, signatures humming with unspent power. Vireon struck. He was everywhere and nowhere, a shiver in bone, a wrong memory, a pulse of impossibility. He reached for the children, but the ledger vibrated, resisting his grasp. Mara revealed the truth. No timeline could be stitched whole by one mind. The clockmaker failed because he could not accept randomness. He prized control over the messy beauty of choice. She showed the ledger's final pages, not directions for dominion, but apologies, sketches of a life never lived, a daughter never truly recovered. Grief, she explained, cannot be rewritten without damning millions. The children understood. The engineer let his hands go. The nurse stopped singing. Jean cut his strings. Their signatures dispersed like sunlight through dust. The ledger dimmed, relieved. Vireon recoiled. He lashed out, collapsing seams into iron certainty. The observatory quivered. The world teetered on a serrated edge. Mara acted. She unmade the ledger from within herself. Not with fire, not with destruction, but by releasing the compulsion to control. In a heartbeat, the stitch was undone. The ledger's hold, the urge to master fate, evaporated. Vireon shrieked. Time exhaled. The anomalies settled, like a storm receding over wet streets, leaving only the scent of rain and faintly trembling air. The aftermath was subtle but profound. Jean kept his marionettes, but now created freely. Lagos's bridge looped only in memory, frightening none. Kyoto's nurse hummed lullabies, aware that dreams were seeds, not scripts. Mara kept the empty oilcloth, not as weapon, but reminder. Some books are better left unread. Lila faded like sunlight on old paper, whispering, "Keep watch, not to wind, but to listen." Mara understood. Vigilance, attention, the ability to notice the seams without binding them, was the true legacy. The city resumed its rhythm. Trams ticked correctly. People moved with subtle freedom, unaware of the edges that had shifted beneath their feet. The ledger's warning remained. The final gear turns when the children awaken. It had turned, and in doing so, had taught the world an unplanned truth. Endings are not engineered. Fate cannot be lathed by a single hand. Mara hid the book beneath the floorboards of her orphanage. She listened for the whispers of irregularities, a hiccup in a second hand, a memory misplaced, a smell that did not belong. Sometimes she found scraps tucked inside, a gear, a child's name, a trace of possibility. The future was a room of doors, each with its own key. Fate could be bent. Choice carried the cost. Mara taught the world to resist being sewn shut. Small tremors ripple through the city. People pause and smile, sensing echoes of lives they never lived. Some call them coincidences. Others are watchful. They see the seams, not to control them, but to observe, to heal. They are the Watchers. Mara is among them. She no longer binds lives. She listens. She waits. She notices. Sometimes, when the nights are still, she opens the ledger and reads the last lines, not as instruction, but as story, as caution. The Clockmaker left unfinished business, but what he could not complete was the most vital lesson: the enduring, untidy, irresistible right of human beings to choose. The gears turn. The hourglass empties and refills. But you, watcher, reader, witness, are free. And freedom, Mara knows, is both fragile and eternal.